Imagine for a moment that everything around you falls apart. The job you relied on disappears overnight. The person you thought you'd spend your life with walks away. The plans you made crumble in the face of chaos. Most people would break under the weight of such storms, but not you. You can learn to face any storm and remain standing, calm and strong. You can become unbreakable. Welcome to the 2025 Complete Guide to Becoming Unbreakable. In a world that feels more chaotic and fast-paced than ever, we all need an inner core of resilience that nothing can shatter. This guide will be your companion for the next 2.5 hours, taking you on a journey through ancient wisdom and modern challenges, all with one goal: to forge an unbreakable mindset within you. Together we'll draw on the hard-earned lessons of Stoicism, the serene insights of Buddhism, and the bold truths of existentialism. These philosophies have guided emperors and monks, writers and warriors, and they remain just as relevant today, in 2025, as they were thousands of years ago. Now, this isn't a dry philosophy lecture. This is a continuous, energizing conversation about your life. Think of it as sitting by a campfire late at night, talking with the spirits of Marcus Aurelius, Buddha, Seneca, Epictetus, Jean-Paul Sartre, and Albert Camus. They're sharing their wisdom, and we're translating it into real talk for real life. Your relationships, your career struggles, your mental health battles, your search for purpose in a chaotic world. By the end, you'll have practical tools and a renewed spirit to face anything. You'll know how to embrace discomfort instead of avoiding it, how to detach from outcomes that used to stress you out, how to take radical responsibility for your life, and how to cultivate self-love and inner peace without losing your edge. So, why these philosophies? Because they are battle-tested in the fires of adversity. Stoicism was born in a world of turmoil. Roman slaves and emperors alike used it to endure hardships. Buddhism literally began with a prince who gave up luxury to understand and overcome suffering. Existentialism arose in times of war and existential crisis, when people questioned the very meaning of life. These aren't armchair theories. They were forged by people facing plagues, prisons, and personal despair, yet emerging unbroken. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote meditations while leading a war-torn empire through plague and conflict, and still found time to reflect on virtue and calm. The Buddha left his palace to confront sickness, old age, and death, ultimately finding enlightenment under a Bodhi tree. Sartre and Camus wrote about finding meaning and freedom amid war, oppression, and absurdity. Their experiences created philosophies designed to make a human being unbreakable against the worst life can hurl. If at any point you find these ideas hitting home, feel free to pause and reflect on your own life. Jot down thoughts, or just let them sink in. And if you're new here, or if you resonate with this mission to become mentally unbreakable, make sure to subscribe to our channel and join this community. We're in this together, and your journey matters. Also, drop a comment whenever something strikes a chord or raises a question. Your insights could inspire someone else on the path. This isn't about never feeling pain or never getting knocked down. It's about learning to get back up every time, a little stronger and a lot wiser. It's about cultivating a mindset so resilient that, as the saying goes, in the midst of winter, you find within you an invincible summer. That beautiful line from Albert Camus reminds us that no matter how cold and harsh life gets, there is something in you, a warmth, a light, a strength that cannot be extinguished by external storms. Our goal is to help you find that invincible summer within yourself and let it shine even on your darkest days. Throughout this guide, we'll weave together stories and examples, from ancient anecdotes to modern real-world scenarios. We'll talk about handling relationship heartbreak without losing faith in love. We'll explore facing career failures and uncertainties with a sense of purpose and courage. We'll tackle issues of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt, using the combined wisdom of East and West to find hope and direction even when life feels meaningless. Every step of the way will be blending Stoic grit, Buddhist serenity, and existentialist freedom into a powerful alloy that nothing can easily break. And don't worry, this won't be a jarring mix of ideas. Though Stoicism, Buddhism, and existentialism come from different times and places, you'll see how they complement each other, like pieces of a puzzle. Stoicism's focus on controlling our minds and reactions fits perfectly with Buddhism's teachings on letting go of attachment. Both emphasize that we suffer not because of what happens to us, but because of how we respond or cling to what happens. Existentialism adds another layer, reminding us that even in a world that makes no promises, we can choose our response and find meaning in our actions. Together they form a holistic approach to life. Face reality head-on, accept whatever you cannot change, yet never forget your freedom to shape your own destiny through your mindset and choices. Ready? Let's begin this journey. The night is dark, the fire is warm, and the voices of wisdom are leaning in. They're about to tell you how to become unbreakable. All you need to do is listen, reflect, and carry what resonates into your life. Let's dive into the first lesson of our journey, understanding the kind of world we're dealing with here in 2025, and why cultivating an unbreakable mindset is not just optional, it's essential. Weathering the modern storm. Let's start with where we are, the here and now, the world of 2025. It often feels like we're living in a hurricane of constant change. Technology is evolving at breakneck speed. We wake up to news about global pandemics, climate disasters, economic uncertainties, and rapid developments in AI that make us question what the future holds. Social media floods us with highlights of others' lives, stirring up feelings that we're never enough or that the world is spiraling out of control. Anxiety runs high in our era. Nearly 1 billion people globally live with a mental disorder, such as anxiety or depression. That's a stark indicator of how modern pressures impact our minds. Our world is highly connected, yet often deeply isolating. In the glow of our screens at midnight, many of us are asking, how do I find stability? How do I find meaning when everything around me feels so uncertain? If you've felt this, you're not alone. In fact, a wave of self-help literature has washed over society in recent years, precisely because so many people are seeking something solid to hold on to. There's a kind of meaning crisis in our time, a sense that despite all our material progress, many of us feel unmoored, without a clear purpose or inner peace. We have more comfort and convenience than any generation before, yet it hasn't made us psychologically stronger. On the contrary, for some, it's made it easier to avoid challenges. And as a result, we haven't built the calluses of resilience our ancestors had. We scroll away our discomfort, binge-watch our anxieties into silence, or chase quick dopamine hits to escape the emptiness. But those are temporary escapes, not solutions. The truth is, the modern world demands an unbreakable mindset more than ever. Think about it. Earlier humans had a pretty predictable life. Tough, yes, but largely the same struggles as generations before. Today we navigate a world that changes every minute. Jobs come and go. Entire industries appear and vanish within a decade. The concept of a lifelong career or a set path has eroded. You might have to reinvent yourself multiple times. Relationships are also in flux. People move more, settle down later, if at all, and face new social pressures our grandparents couldn't imagine. Meanwhile, global events, from financial crises to viruses, can ripple into our personal lives overnight. If your sense of self and stability is tied only to external things, a specific job, a specific person, a specific plan, life can crush you the moment those things shift. So how do we not only survive this whirlwind, but thrive in it? This is where the wisdom of Stoicism, Buddhism, and existentialism comes in as a life raft and compass. These philosophies were all born in times of turbulence, and they shine especially brightly in chaos. Stoicism has seen a huge revival recently, for good reason. It provides guidance on living a peaceful and meaningful life, in a world of increasing complexity, change, uncertainty, and even existential danger. It's almost as if Marcus Aurelius or Seneca were writing letters directly to us today, saying, yes, the world is crazy, but here's how you can keep your head on straight. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control the world, we can control how we respond, and therein lies our power. Buddhism offers a complementary solace for modern woes. We live in an age of attachment to our online personas, to our possessions, to our egos. Buddhism cuts to the heart of why that makes us suffer. The Buddha taught that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional when we learn to let go of our rigid expectations. In this frantic era, Buddhist practices like mindfulness and meditation have surged in popularity because they work. They help pull our attention out of the anxious future and depressive past, back into the only place we ever truly live, the present moment. They teach us how to find an island of calm in ourselves amid the storm. And then there's existentialism, which might seem dark to some, but is actually empowering when you understand it. Existentialist thinkers stepped forward in times of war, political upheaval, and moral despair, times not unlike our own in many ways. They basically said, look, the old certainties are gone. Maybe there is no pre-written meaning to life. But that doesn't mean all is lost. It means we get to create meaning. In a society where traditional values and identities are in flux, where you might be asking, who am I? What should I do with my life? Existentialism answers, you are the author of your own life. Your actions and choices right now are what define you. As Sartre famously put it, man is condemned to be free because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. At first that sounds intimidating, condemned to be free, but it's actually a profound reminder that you are not as helpless as you think. No matter how chaotic the world, you still have the freedom and responsibility to choose your attitude and your next step. All three philosophies, in their own way, tell us that the eye of the storm is within. The calm center, the unbreakable core, is something we cultivate inside ourselves, not something we find out there. The Stoics show us how to build that core through mindset and virtue. The Buddhists show us how to nurture it through letting go and compassion. The existentialists show us how to ignite it through owning our freedom and finding personal meaning. This is why in 2025, we're turning to ancient sages and modern philosophers more than ever, because deep down, we sense they have answers that our smartphones and endless data just can't provide. Before moving on, take a moment to reflect on your own life. How do the challenges of the modern world weigh on you? Do you feel that anxiety of uncertainty about the future? Do you catch yourself clinging to something, a job title, a relationship, a social media image, as if it were your lifeline? Recognize that feeling for what it is, a natural response to chaos, but one you can transform. As we continue, keep these personal reflections in mind. The lessons ahead aren't abstract ideals. They're intensely practical tools for what you're going through right now. And as we dive into the first major theme, embracing discomfort, remember that every piece of adversity you face in this modern world is not here to break you, but to build you. It's time to learn how. Embrace the discomfort, forge strength through adversity. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Comfort is not always your friend. In fact, too much comfort can make you fragile. Think about the times you've truly grown as a person. Was it when everything was easy and handed to you? Or was it when you faced challenges, when you struggled and had to push beyond your limits? More often than not, it's the struggles that shape us. Just as a muscle must strain against resistance to get stronger, your mind and spirit need adversity to toughen up. The Stoic philosophers knew this well. They didn't seek out suffering for its own sake, but they understood that difficulty is the path to growth. As Seneca put it, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Every challenge you endure is like weight on the barbell for your character. Lifting it makes you stronger. In our modern world, we have an unprecedented ability to avoid discomfort. We can order food without leaving the couch, avoid awkward conversations by sending a text, or quit a task as soon as it feels challenging. But the flip side of a life with no discomfort is a life with no resilience. When you avoid all pain, you also avoid growth. The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils, where they'd visualize difficulties before they happened, so they could face them more calmly if they occurred. Some Stoics even practiced voluntary hardship, sleeping on the floor occasionally, eating simple meals, exposing themselves to the cold. Why? Not because they loved misery, but because they were training themselves. They were telling their bodies and minds, "See, we can handle this. We won't break." They were vaccinating their soul against adversity by taking small doses of it on purpose. Now, I'm not saying you need to start sleeping on a bed of nails or something extreme. Embracing discomfort can start with little things. Maybe it's taking a cold shower in the morning to build grit. You'll find that after the initial yikes, you feel invigorated and proud of doing it. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been putting off, rather than avoiding it. It could be as simple as not reaching for your phone every time you feel bored or anxious, and instead sitting with those feelings for a while. Each time you choose a bit of discomfort over the easy escape, you're strengthening your resilience muscle. You're telling yourself, "I am capable of handling more than I thought." A powerful example from Stoicism is the quote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Marcus Aurelius wrote that in his Meditations, reminding himself that the obstacle in our path is not actually stopping us, it's guiding us. If you wanted to become physically strong, you'd pick up heavier and heavier weights. By the same logic, life's obstacles are the weights that make your mind strong. That failure, that heartbreak, that setback, they can be the very things that forge you into something greater if you let them. It's also worth noting how this idea appears in other philosophies and even modern science. Buddhism, for instance, teaches acceptance of suffering as a fundamental reality. The first noble truth is that life has suffering. You can't escape it. The sooner you accept that, the less you'll be shocked every time something hurts. Buddhist monk Ajahn Chah once likened suffering to getting struck by two arrows. The first arrow is the pain itself, which might be inevitable. The second arrow is the mental anguish we add by saying, "This shouldn't be happening to me." When we embrace discomfort, we effectively dodge that second arrow. We say, "All right, here it is, an experience of pain or challenge. What can it teach me?" In doing so, the pain often lessens because we're not resisting it anymore. There's even psychological research in modern times suggesting that experiencing manageable stresses builds resilience. Psychologists talk about stress inoculation. By facing and overcoming small stresses, we become better at handling big ones. Navy SEALs have a motto, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable," because in the extremes of military training and combat, the ability to stay calm and effective under discomfort can be the difference between life and death. While most of us aren't in literal battle, we all have our battlefields, whether it's a tough project at work, a health issue, or a personal loss. Learning to get comfortable with discomfort means when life throws you into the fire, you won't be consumed. You'll come out tempered like steel. Let's bring it back to you. What's something in your life right now that's uncomfortable or scary that you might be avoiding? Maybe it's applying for a new job because you fear rejection. Maybe it's going to therapy to confront a past trauma. Maybe it's simply starting that workout routine or creative project you've been procrastinating on because it's hard to stick with. Identify one thing. Now, ask yourself, what if this challenge is exactly what I need to become stronger? How might you grow from it? Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Our fear of pain often exaggerates how bad it will be. The anticipation, the imagining of failure or discomfort, hurts us far more than the thing itself. When you actually step into discomfort, you usually find it's not as deadly as you thought. The interview you dreaded becomes a chance to shine. The workout that seemed too hard leaves you feeling alive. The conversation you feared brings relief and understanding. By confronting your fears and discomforts directly, you rob them of their mystique. They become just another experience, something you can handle, not some giant shadow looming over you. I challenge you today or this week, do one thing that stretches your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be monumental, just one deliberate act of embracing discomfort. Then observe how you feel afterward. Did it kill you, or do you feel a bit more confident? Share your experience in the comments if you're comfortable. What did you do and what did you learn from it? Your courage might inspire someone else to do the same. By consistently embracing discomfort, you begin to realize that discomfort is temporary, but the strength you gain from it is lasting. Each time you endure, you add a new layer of armor to your mind. Over time, things that used to rattle you will hardly make you flinch. You'll find that what once felt unbearable is now just unpleasant, and what was unpleasant might even become almost comfortable. That's growth. That's the process of becoming unbreakable in action. Remember, an unbreakable mindset isn't formed in an absence of stress. It's forged by stress, the way a sword is forged by fire and pounding. Embrace the fire, and you'll come out sharper. In the next part of our journey, we'll look at another crucial aspect of resilience, learning to let go of our attachment to outcomes. Believe it or not, a lot of the pain we experience isn't from the hard work or hardship itself, but from our expectations and demands about how life should go. So, having learned to face adversity head-on, let's explore the art of detachment and inner peace from the perspective of Buddhism. Let go of outcomes. Finding peace in detachment. You've probably heard the saying, do your best and leave the rest. This captures a core principle of resilience, detachment from outcomes. After you've done what you can, after you've given something your honest effort, there comes a point where worrying, ruminating, or desperately clutching to a specific result only harms you. It's like planting a seed. You water it, you give it sunlight, but you can't force it to grow by tugging on its stem. In life, many of us do our part, then anxiously hover over the soil, agonizing, why isn't it sprouting yet? We're so attached to seeing the outcome we want, in the exact way and time we want, that we drive ourselves crazy. Buddhism zeroes in on this human tendency and identifies it as a main cause of suffering. According to the Buddha, our pain often comes from craving and attachment. We cling to pleasures and outcomes, fearing their loss, and we cling to our expectations of how things should be. When reality doesn't match our script, we suffer. Buddhist philosophy teaches, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And that optional suffering is largely what we add through resistance and attachment. In other words, life will not always give you what you desire. That's the pain of life. But if you can learn to let go of the rigid demand that life must always go your way, you save yourself the extra layer of misery. Imagine you're applying for your dream job. You prep for the interview, you bring your A game. Now, a healthy approach after that would be, I gave my best. If it's meant to be, great. If not, I'll be okay. An attached approach, on the other hand, would be, I have to get this job. If I don't, I'm a failure. I'll be devastated. In the second case, you've attached your self-worth and happiness to the outcome. If a rejection comes, it doesn't just disappoint you, it shatters you. The Buddhist way encourages us to be more like the first case, care and put in effort, but then have a willingness to accept any outcome. This is called detachment or non-attachment. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply about your actions, but you're not enslaved by the results. There's a wonderful serenity that comes with this mindset. It's the serenity of someone who works hard and genuinely hopes for the best, but knows that even if things turn out differently, they will find a way to be at peace. Think of a surfer riding a wave. They prepare, they catch the wave, but once they're on it, they have to go with the flow of the ocean. Fighting the wave is futile. Riding it is the only way. Life is much the same. Once you've launched off, you ride the wave of events as they come. You adjust, you keep your balance, but you don't control the ocean. Stoicism, interestingly, teaches a similar lesson. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, said we must divide the world into two domains, what we can control and what we cannot. Our actions, choices, and attitudes are under our control. Everything else, like other people's actions, or the weather, or the outcome of that job interview, is not. Stoics argue that peace comes when we stop trying to control the uncontrollable. In Epictetus's words, don't demand or expect that events happen as you would wish them to. Accept events as they actually happen. That way, peace is possible. It's a nearly perfect mirror of Buddhist wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, too, reminded himself daily to welcome whatever happens, saying something akin to, whatsoever the nature of the universe assigns to you, embrace it, as it is part of your destiny. The idea is to align your will with reality, rather than constantly fighting reality because it didn't conform to your will. Consider how much stress we inflict on ourselves by resisting what is. A traffic jam, an unexpected bill, a person who doesn't return our affection. These things in themselves are just facts of life. It's our inner tantrum, no, this shouldn't be happening, that magnifies the suffering. As one Buddhist teaching puts it, let go or be dragged. If you hold on to a rope that's being pulled away, you just burn your hands. If you release, you can stand freely and deal with what's next. Detachment also plays a profound role in our relationships. Often we cause ourselves and others pain by clinging too tightly. We try to control our loved ones, to make them behave in certain ways or meet all our expectations. We might smother a partner with demands or cling to them out of fear of loss. Ironically, this usually pushes people away or creates tension. Loving someone while detaching from the need to control them is one of the healthiest ways to love. It allows you to give freedom and space, and love given freely, without strings attached, is the purest kind. As the saying goes, if you love someone, set them free. Detachment in love means you still care deeply, but you don't tie your entire identity or happiness to the decisions of another person. You respect that they have their own path. This outlook can save relationships from suffocating and can save you from heartbreak that comes from seeing others as possessions or saviors. Remember, if you truly loved yourself, you could never hurt another. When we are secure and loving within, we don't cling destructively to others. So how can you practice detachment right now? Start small. Notice the next time you feel yourself getting overly anxious about an outcome. Maybe you sent a text and are anxiously awaiting a reply. Maybe you submitted an assignment or proposal and your whole day's mood hinges on the feedback. When you catch yourself in that state, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself, I've done my part. The rest is out of my hands. I'll be okay regardless. It might help to even visualize releasing the outcome. Imagine you're literally opening your clenched fist and letting the worry float away like a balloon. Then, consciously shift your attention to something in the present moment. Your breath, the task at hand, or doing something constructive. Another practice is gratitude for what is, instead of obsession with what you want to happen. Stoics often practiced gratitude daily, acknowledging the good in their life, as it is. If you find yourself fixated on a particular outcome, I must get X to be happy, try to also note what you have right now. I'm grateful for Y that I already have. This doesn't mean you stop striving for goals, it just balances your perspective. So your peace isn't destroyed if one desire doesn't materialize. Detachment is ultimately about trust. Trust in yourself and in life. It's telling yourself, no matter what comes, I can handle it. I prefer success. I prefer love. I prefer comfort. But I don't need them to be whole. When you reach that state of mind, a huge weight lifts off your shoulders. You do what you can, and you flow with what follows. Paradoxically, you'll find you perform even better in life when you're not tightly wound up about the results. Athletes talk about this. They play best when they're in the zone, not overthinking the score. Artists create their finest work when they're immersed in the process, not obsessing about how critics will react. Likewise, you will shine more in your endeavors when you're focused on the process, not strangling the outcome. Try this for a day. Whatever you do, do it fully, then mentally let go of the outcome. Send that email, and as soon as it's sent, say to yourself, okay, I release it. Have that meeting, and when it's over, tell yourself, what's done is done. Notice how often your mind wants to replay or control the aftermath, and gently remind it to relax. At the end of the day, reflect. Did this attitude lighten your mental load? Share in the comments one situation where you practiced detachment and how it felt. Your story might encourage someone else struggling with letting go. By learning detachment, you're not giving up your values or goals. You're giving up your insistence that life must give you exactly what you imagined. You're trading rigidity for flexibility, anxiety for ease. You become like a strong tree that can sway with the storm winds instead of snapping. This inner peace, born of non-attachment, is a cornerstone of being unbreakable. Because when you are not owned by an outcome, nothing can own you or break you. Now that we've talked about embracing adversity and releasing our grip on outcomes, the next step is to turn inward and claim full ownership of our lives. It's time to discuss radical self-responsibility, an existential insight that you have more power than you think, and with it, the responsibility to craft your life's meaning and direction. This is where we take the reins of destiny firmly in our hands, without excuses. Radical self-responsibility. You are the author of your life. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I can face hardships and let go of what I can't control. But what about the overall direction of my life? What about the big stuff? My purpose, my identity, my actions day to day? Who or what determines those? The answer, and this is both empowering and daunting, is you. This brings us to the idea of radical self-responsibility, a cornerstone of existentialist philosophy and a key to becoming unbreakable. Existentialism emerged from the recognition that in a universe with no clear script or guaranteed meaning, each of us must create our own meaning. Jean-Paul Sartre, one of the leading existentialists, famously said, "Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does." Let that sink in. We are free. No one is pulling our strings. But that freedom is a kind of burden, condemned to be free, because it means we can't escape responsibility for our choices. There is no fate or external authority we can point to for how our lives turn out, at least in Sartre's view. We might not control all circumstances, but we bear responsibility for how we respond to circumstances and what we make of them. In simpler terms, you are the author of your life story. Yes, life will hand you plot twists you never asked for. You might be born into poverty or wealth. You might face discrimination or privilege. You might encounter tragedies or windfalls. Those are the givens, the starting conditions and events. But with each chapter, you decide the character you will be. Will you be the hero, the victim, the learner, the cynic, the caregiver, the creator? Will you rise? Will you fall? Will you get back up? Those parts are largely up to you. Radical self-responsibility means no more excuses. It doesn't mean bad things that happen to you are your fault, not at all. What it means is that you refuse to hand over the pen of your life story to anyone or anything else. You accept that even if something wasn't your fault, it is still, unavoidably, your responsibility to decide what to do next. That may sound harsh, but it's actually one of the most liberating realizations you can have. Because as long as we pin our hopes or blame on something outside, I'd be happy if it weren't for my boss. I could achieve my goals if I had more money. I can't be content because my parents screwed me up, etc. We give away our power. We put our happiness and growth at the mercy of external factors that we may never fully control. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, illustrated this concept in the most extreme conditions imaginable. Imprisoned in Auschwitz, having lost his family and everything but his naked existence, he discovered that one freedom remained: the freedom to choose his attitude and actions. As he later wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Even in a concentration camp, Frankl found meaning by caring for others, by holding on to a vision of the future, by refusing to let cruelty turn his heart cold. His life after the war, where he wrote Man's Search for Meaning, is a testament to the power of taking responsibility for one's own mind and purpose, even when the world is darkest. Now, most of us will, hopefully, never face something as horrific as Frankl did. But we can learn from his example. You might not control the cards you're dealt, but you always decide how to play them. This mindset is the opposite of living in blame and victimhood. It doesn't mean denying that others might have wronged you or that society has injustices. It means, even acknowledging those truths, you still claim your power to shape your response. It's saying, no one is coming to save me or to live my life for me. I have to do it. Adopting radical responsibility can be a tough pill. It means giving up the comfort of easy blame. It's sometimes soothing to say, well, I'm this way because my ex treated me badly, or I can't improve my situation because the economy is bad. Let's be real, those factors do impact us. But the question remains, now what? You can't rewrite the past, and you might not fix the economy single-handedly, but you can take action to heal your heart, or to learn new skills, or to hustle in creative ways despite challenges. The moment you shift focus from what's been done to you to what you can do, you transform from a passive character in your story to an active hero. Consider a common scenario. Say you have a goal to get fit, but you grew up in a family that never taught you healthy habits. You could go through life using that as a justification. I never learned to cook. My parents fed me junk, so I'm overweight, and it's not my fault. And you know what? That might be true. It's not your fault how you started, but it is your responsibility to take charge of where you go from here. No one else can exercise for you. No one else can make the decision to change your diet or seek knowledge that wasn't given to you. That's on you, and that's a good thing, because it means you have the power to change it. Blaming your past relinquishes that power. Owning your present gives it back. This concept ties back with Stoicism as well. Stoics also emphasize focusing on our own actions and not blaming external factors. Epictetus started life as a slave. He could have easily said, I can't do anything, I'm just a slave. Yet he focused on mastering his own mind and later gained freedom and became a teacher to many, including influential Romans. He advised that we should never point fingers at the universe for our misfortunes, but rather ask what is within our control to do now. In Stoic thought, blaming fate or others is a waste of energy. Responding with virtue and effort is the path forward. In practical terms, radical self-responsibility means always coming back to the question, given what is the situation, what will I do about it? It's forward-looking. It's solution-oriented. If you made a mistake, it means acknowledging it, learning from it, and making amends or improvements, not wallowing in self-pity or shifting the blame to someone else. If you've been wronged, it means acknowledging your pain, perhaps seeking justice where possible, but ultimately not letting the wrong define the rest of your life. You decide what meaning you create from it. One beautiful thing happens when you take full responsibility. You gain an immense sense of power over your life. You realize that no matter what happens, you have agency. You can make choices that align with your values. You can steer the ship, even if the seas are rough. This doesn't mean you control the sea, only that you control the steering wheel. And that is enough to drastically change your trajectory over time. I invite you to do a little self-audit. Identify one area of your life where you've been placing blame or waiting for someone else to fix things. It could be your career, My boss never gives me opportunities. Your personal life. No one ever taught me how to. Or even your happiness. I'll be happy when XYZ happens. Write it down. Then ask, what action can I take, however small, to start changing this situation or how I feel about it? Commit to one action. It could be as modest as signing up for an online class to learn a skill your school didn't teach you, or reaching out to mend a relationship you care about, instead of blaming the other person for never calling. Take that action, and notice how it feels to reclaim authorship of that part of your story. Feel free to share your plan or action in the comments. Declaring it can reinforce your commitment, and it might spark someone else to do the same. By taking responsibility, you cease to be a pawn of circumstances and become the protagonist of your own life. You don't control everything that happens to you, no one does, but you take ownership of what you do with whatever happens. This is true freedom. This is the essence of the existential philosophy. Freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. When you fully embrace that, life's inevitable challenges no longer defeat you. They become chapters in the epic story of how you, against the odds, continually chose your way forward. With this spirit of self-empowerment in mind, we can move to another key element of becoming unbreakable: how to master oneself, to cultivate the discipline, habits, and inner environment that support this strong mindset. It's time to talk about self-mastery and how daily practices can solidify everything we've discussed so far. Self-mastery, discipline as a daily practice. Having the right mindset in theory is one thing. Living it out every day is another. This is where self-mastery comes into play, the daily disciplines and habits that maintain and strengthen your unbreakable mindset. Think of it like maintaining a fortress. It's built strong, but you also have to tend to it regularly, fixing cracks, bolstering walls, keeping the foundation solid. Self-mastery is about taking control of your daily life, your routines, and your reactions so that they serve your higher goals and values rather than undermine them. One aspect of self-mastery is discipline, a word that might make you think of strict schoolmasters or joyless routines. But in truth, discipline is deeply liberating. It's like training a wild horse. Once trained, you can ride it anywhere. If your impulses and habits run wild, you're constantly at their mercy. But if you cultivate discipline, you guide them where you want to go. Epictetus put it succinctly: no man is free who is not master of himself. To the Stoics, freedom wasn't the ability to do whatever you feel like in the moment. It was the ability to not be ruled by your momentary feelings. It's the freedom of saying, I choose my behavior and my habits, they don't choose me. Let's get concrete. What does self-mastery look like in everyday life? It can start from the moment you wake up. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, famously struggled with getting out of bed. Yes, even emperors hit the snooze button. In Meditations, he pep-talked himself by saying, essentially, you didn't wake up just to stay cozy under the blankets. You have work to do as a human being. Was I made for huddling under bed covers and keeping warm? He reminded himself that birds and bees are up doing their part in the world, so why shouldn't he? That's a small example of discipline, overcoming the initial comfort for a greater purpose. Developing a morning routine can be a powerful way to set the tone of your day. Many people who cultivate resilience start their day with practices like meditation, journaling, exercise, or reading something inspiring. Why? Because the first hour of your day often influences your mindset for the rest. If you roll out of bed and immediately drown in social media or frantic rushing, you're starting on a foundation of chaos. But if you take even 15-30 minutes to center yourself, perhaps with a short meditation or a quiet cup of tea while you gather your thoughts, maybe writing down your key intentions for the day, you are mastering your day from the outset. You're saying, I own my time and focus, not the other way around. Meditation deserves special mention here. It has roots in Buddhism, but has been embraced by people of all backgrounds because of its profound effects on self-mastery. When you meditate, You practice observing your thoughts and emotions without instantly reacting to them. Over time, this gives you a superpower, the ability to pause between stimulus and response. If someone triggers you with a rude comment, instead of your mind instantly flaring in anger or defensiveness, your trained mind can take a breath and decide, how do I want to respond? This ties back to Stoicism too. Remember, it's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things. Meditation helps you see your judgments as they arise and lets you choose them more wisely. Even a short daily meditation, 5 to 10 minutes, is like a daily workout for your brain's calm and focused muscle. Journaling or self-reflection is another practice both Stoics and modern psychologists recommend. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius were avid journalers. Marcus's meditations was essentially his private journal. At night, you can jot down, how did I react today? Did I live in accordance with my values? What can I do better tomorrow? This isn't about beating yourself up for mistakes. It's about continual learning. It keeps you aligned with the person you want to be. It's much harder to stray off course when every evening you honestly check in with yourself. Physical discipline is part of self-mastery too. Our mind and body are connected. Taking care of your body through exercise, healthy eating, adequate sleep hugely impacts your mental resilience. It's tough to have an unbreakable mind when you're treating your body poorly, because fatigue and poor health will amplify stress and negative emotions. You don't need to be a marathon runner or a monk, but regular movement, even daily walks, and being mindful of nutrition and rest forms a foundation for mental strength. Exercise is basically a practice of discomfort, as we discussed earlier, and improvement, so it doubles as adversity training and health building. Emotional regulation is another facet of self-mastery. Life will provoke emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, excitement, etc. None of these are bad in themselves. They're human. Self-mastery doesn't mean never feeling these. It means not being controlled by them. Acknowledge your anger, but don't let it dictate nasty actions you'll regret. Feel fear, but still do what aligns with your values. Courage isn't absence of fear, it's doing what's right despite fear. Techniques to manage emotions include taking deep breaths or a short walk when you're heated, reminding yourself of the bigger picture, or even having a mantra. A Buddhist might recite a compassion mantra when feeling overwhelmed by frustration, or a Stoic might recall, anger does more harm to me than the thing I'm angry at. Find what mental tools calm you and practice using them. Self-mastery also means in protecting your mind from negative influences. This could involve setting boundaries on the media you consume. Doom-scrolling news or social media for hours can erode anyone's peace. Mastery might mean deciding, I will check the news once in the morning, then focus on my day, or I will limit social media to 30 minutes and avoid toxic interactions. You take charge of what you allow into your mental sphere, much like a gatekeeper of your fortress deciding who enters. Consistency is key. You won't always feel motivated. Nobody does. That's where discipline bridges the gap. On the days when you don't feel like meditating or exercising or sticking to your positive routine, discipline carries you through. And ironically, those are often the days you need it most. By keeping up your practices, even when it's hard, you reinforce to yourself that you're in control, not your momentary mood. Now it's important to mention that self-mastery is not about becoming a rigid control freak or punishing yourself. It's actually an act of self-love, which we'll delve into soon. You discipline yourself because you care about your well-being and growth, not because you want to self-flagellate. There's joy in improvement, and there's satisfaction in keeping commitments to yourself. When you say you'll do something, and you do it, you build self-trust. When you consistently align your actions with your values, like health, learning, kindness, etc., you feel an inner harmony. Over time, the disciplined habits that once took effort become second nature, part of who you are. Think about one habit of self-mastery you'd like to develop or strengthen. It could be a morning routine, a nightly journal, a workout schedule, or a meditation practice. Commit to doing it for the next week. Just 1 week to start, every day. Write this commitment down. If you want, share in the comments what habit you're focusing on and why. Accountability can help. At the end of the week, reflect on how sticking to this discipline made you feel mentally and emotionally. Did you notice a change in your stress or confidence levels? Celebrate your week of effort and then keep it going for another week. Small steps, consistently taken, lead to big transformations. Self-mastery is a lifelong journey. You'll have slip-ups, days when you hit snooze too much or lose your temper. That's okay. What matters is the overall trend, that you're becoming more and more the commander of your own ship. With each small victory over laziness, distraction, or temptation, you strengthen your unbreakable core. You prove to yourself, I can rely on me, and that is a tremendous source of confidence and resilience. Having talked about discipline and strength, it's equally important to talk about gentleness with oneself. Unbreakable doesn't mean hard as stone. It also means knowing how to bend and how to heal. This brings us to the next crucial theme, self-love and compassion. It's time to ensure that in pushing yourself to be strong, you're also treating yourself kindly, like your own best friend rather than a harsh critic. Self-love and compassion. The gentle power within. In our quest to become unbreakable, we must remember, unbreakable does not mean unfeeling, nor does it mean being harsh toward yourself. In fact, one of the greatest sources of resilience is self-love and self-compassion. Think of it this way. If life is a battle at times, you want the voice inside your head to be that of a coach or a best friend, not a cruel drill sergeant. Yes, you need discipline and tough love occasionally, but you also need encouragement, forgiveness, and kindness from yourself. Otherwise, you become your own worst enemy, weakening yourself from within. There's a poignant Buddhist teaching about compassion that often gets applied to oneself. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. How many of us truly believe that? Many of us are kind and forgiving to others, but brutally critical of ourselves. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, and when we fall short, we beat ourselves up mercilessly. Instead of picking ourselves up after a fall, we sometimes kick ourselves while we're down. This does not make us stronger. It makes us fragile, because we rob ourselves of the very support we need to recover and grow. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same understanding and care you'd offer to a dear friend who is struggling. If a friend failed at something important, you wouldn't say, "You're such a loser, you'll never succeed." Yet notice if you've ever said such things to yourself. Self-compassion says, "It's okay, you tried. Here's what you can learn. I still believe in you." It might feel odd to talk to yourself like that at first, but it's incredibly powerful. Psychologically, studies show that people who practice self-compassion are more resilient in the face of failure and less afraid of taking risks, because they know they won't mentally torture themselves if things go wrong. In fact, research indicates that self-compassion is one of the most powerful sources of coping and resilience we have. Self-love goes hand in hand. It's not vanity or selfishness. It's a deep acknowledgement of your own worth and a commitment to your own well-being. When you love someone, you care about their happiness. You protect them from harm. You forgive their mistakes, and you encourage their dreams. Imagine applying all that to yourself. How unstoppable could you be if you had your own unwavering support? If instead of thinking, "I'll love myself when I'm perfect," you thought, "I love myself now as an imperfect, growing human, and because I care about myself, I will continue to improve." Stoicism might sound stern, but even Stoics recognized the value of being reasonable with oneself. They spoke of accepting one's humanity, which includes erring. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that he was a human among humans, all fallible. He urged forgiveness and understanding, even towards oneself implicitly. And Seneca advised that while we should hold ourselves accountable, we should not torture our souls with endless self-blame. The Stoics aimed for balance. Improve yourself, yes, but don't condemn yourself for being in progress. In modern terms, that's self-compassion. From a practical standpoint, self-love and self-compassion might look like giving yourself permission to rest when you're exhausted, rather than calling yourself lazy. Remember, even machines need downtime for maintenance, and so do you. Resting when needed is not weakness. It's what allows you to come back stronger. Celebrating your small wins instead of only focusing on what's left to do. Did you stick to your workout plan today? Acknowledge it. Did you handle a difficult conversation a bit better than you would have last year? Give yourself some credit. Recognizing progress boosts morale and motivation. Speaking kindly to yourself. Pay attention to your inner dialogue, especially after a setback. If you catch it throwing insults, "I'm so stupid, I always mess up," pause and reframe. Would you say that to someone you care about? Replace it with a constructive thought. "That didn't go as I hoped, but I learned something." Or, "I'm proud of myself for trying, next time will be better." Practicing self-care without guilt. Take time for activities that nourish you. A walk in nature, reading a book, relaxing with music, spending time on a hobby. These aren't frivolous. They recharge your mental and emotional batteries. A resilient mind isn't built on non-stop strain. It's built on a healthy rhythm of effort and renewal. Forgiving yourself for past mistakes. We all have regrets. Holding on to them, replaying them, punishing ourselves over and over, that drains our strength. Acknowledge what happened, make amends if necessary, learn the lesson, and then decide to forgive yourself. If you've sincerely resolved to be better, you deserve to move forward without the baggage of guilt. Buddhism has a beautiful practice called metta, or loving kindness meditation, where you generate feelings of compassion and love first for yourself, and then radiate it out to others. This isn't selfish. It's recognizing that you, like all beings, want to be happy and free from suffering. By starting with compassion towards yourself, you build a well that can then overflow to others. After all, you cannot pour from an empty cup. When you treat yourself with care, your ability to care for and withstand the troubles of the world increases. Self-love also fortifies you against external negativity. When you fundamentally value yourself, you become less dependent on others' validation and less devastated by others' criticism. It's not that you stop caring what anyone thinks. We're social beings after all. But negative feedback no longer confirms a secret fear that you're worthless. If someone rejects you or says something nasty, you have an inner voice that says, "I know my own value. I will consider if there's a useful critique here, but I won't internalize pure hate." You become emotionally anti-fragile, often bouncing back quicker. Just as a child with loving parents tends to have more confidence to face the world, an adult with a loving inner parent, themselves, faces life with more boldness. Let's be clear, self-love isn't about complacency. It doesn't mean you think you're perfect and stop striving. It means you recognize you're worthy and lovable, even as you strive. In fact, because you care about yourself, you want to strive, to give yourself a fulfilling life, to use your potential, to not sell yourself short. Self-compassion doesn't remove accountability. It just removes the destructive, shame-based form of it. You can hold yourself responsible in a gentle way. "I slipped up. I'll fix it because I respect myself and know I can do better." Instead of, "I slipped up, I'm awful and deserve to suffer." For many, self-love is the hardest part of this journey. I challenge you to practice a simple exercise. Every morning for the next week, look in the mirror, smile, even a little, and say something kind or encouraging to yourself. It could be, "I'm proud of how far you've come," or "You deserve to have a good day," or even a simple, "I love you, keep going." It might feel cheesy. Do it in private if you must, but notice how it affects your mood. Additionally, when you catch your inner critic raging, try writing down the critical thought, then writing a compassionate rebuttal as if you were defending a friend. If you feel up for it, share one kind thing you've told yourself in the comments. You never know, your words to yourself might resonate and help someone else. Embracing self-love and compassion turns your mind into a sanctuary rather than a battleground. It doesn't mean you won't face storms. It means when you do, you have a safe harbor within to rest and recover. You become unbreakable not by never bending, but by knowing that you can always nurture yourself back to strength. By being your own ally, you ensure that you'll never be truly alone in your struggles. You've got your own back. We've now gathered many tools and insights. Facing discomfort, letting go, taking responsibility, building discipline, and loving ourselves. But no journey exists in a vacuum. We live among others. So next, let's look at how to remain unbreakable in the context of relationships. How to nurture strong connections and handle conflicts without losing our center. Resilient relationships. Strength in human connections. No journey to becoming unbreakable would be complete without addressing relationships. After all, much of our happiness and pain in life comes from our interactions with others. Family, friends, romantic partners, colleagues, even strangers. How do we apply our unbreakable mindset to the realm of human connections? How do we cultivate strong, healthy relationships while not letting relationship challenges break us? First, let's acknowledge a paradox. Other people can be our greatest source of support and our greatest source of stress. Loving relationships uplift us, but conflicts or loss can bring us to our knees. The Stoics were very aware of this. They lived in families, had friends and colleagues, suffered bereavements and betrayals. Their advice was not to shun relationships. Stoicism isn't about being a lone wolf, but to engage in them with wisdom and realistic expectations. Marcus Aurelius began one of his journal entries by warning himself that he would meet ungrateful, treacherous, selfish people that day. He didn't do this to become cynical, but to remind himself not to be shocked when people are imperfect. Think about that. How often do we suffer because we expected someone to be different? We expect our partner to read our mind and are hurt when they don't. We expect a friend to always agree with us and feel betrayed when they have a different opinion. We expect others to be fair and kind at all times, and when they falter, as humans do, we take it personally. Marcus's approach was to start from an understanding that people, including ourselves, are flawed. Not to excuse bad behavior, but to not let it derail his own state of mind. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, and so none of them can hurt me. He chose to respond to others' difficult behavior not with rage, but with patience and, if possible, guidance. Detachment in love is another powerful concept that sounds counterintuitive. It doesn't mean not loving deeply, it means loving without clinging. The Buddha taught that attachment, grasping at something or someone as if we can own or control them, leads to suffering. In relationships, attachment can manifest as trying to possess the other person or basing all our self-worth on them. This can create fear of losing them and unhealthy behavior, jealousy, control, dependency. Loving without attachment means you love truly and wholeheartedly, but you also respect the other person's independence and the natural flow of life. You recognize that you cannot control their every action or fate's every twist. If a relationship ends or changes, it will hurt, but it won't destroy you, because you haven't tied your entire identity to it. You still have you, and you have confidence that you can heal and continue. This mindset actually makes relationships healthier. It replaces clinging with genuine appreciation. Each moment with the person becomes a gift, not something you're entitled to or desperately gripping. Consider a romantic relationship as an example. Say you're deeply in love with your partner. Detachment doesn't diminish that love. It enriches it. You love them as they are, not as a project to be molded to your expectations. You give them freedom to pursue their interests. to spend time with friends, to grow, and you do the same for yourself. You trust and communicate rather than monitor and control. If conflict arises, you address it with an open heart rather than fear-driven ultimatums. And if, despite your hopes, the relationship were to end, you would of course feel pain and grief. No philosophy removes that completely. But you wouldn't fall to pieces thinking, I am nothing without them. Instead, you'd mourn, learn, and eventually move forward, carrying the love as part of your life story. Handling conflict is a crucial aspect of resilient relationships. Here all our pillars come into play: discomfort, detachment, responsibility, compassion. When an argument comes up, it's uncomfortable. Many people either explode in anger or run away. But if you embrace discomfort, you can stay present and calmly address the issue rather than avoid it. Detachment helps you not latch on to winning the argument at all costs, but focus on understanding and resolution. Taking responsibility means owning your part in any misunderstanding instead of just blaming the other. And compassion, including for yourself and the other person, allows you to navigate the conflict with kindness. A useful Stoic reminder in heated moments is, it's not the event, but your opinion of it that upsets you. For instance, if a friend is late to meet you, you might start fuming, thinking, they don't respect my time. That opinion triggers anger. If you detach and consider other interpretations, maybe they're caught in traffic, maybe they lost track of time, but it wasn't personal. Your emotional response can soften. Address the issue. I feel disrespected when you're late without notice, but do so from a place of seeking improvement, not merely punishing them. Boundaries are another key. Being loving doesn't mean being a doormat. An unbreakable person has the confidence to set healthy boundaries in relationships. If someone consistently treats you poorly, self-love, as we discussed, demands that you step back or speak up. Stoics would agree. Justice and respect are virtues, and that includes respecting yourself. If a relationship is toxic and efforts to fix it have failed, the courageous and compassionate thing might be to let it go. That can be incredibly hard. But remember, detaching from a harmful relationship is not a failure. It's a brave choice to protect your well-being. Finding support. On the flip side, resilience doesn't mean you never need others. In fact, strong connections can bolster your resilience. Knowing you have a friend to talk to, or a family member who believes in you, can make you feel, I can handle this. Stoicism sometimes gets misinterpreted as isolationist, but Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of community and helping each other. We are social creatures. The trick is to value support without becoming completely dependent. It's okay to lean on others sometimes, just as you would let them lean on you. It's an exchange of strength. Existentialism and relationships bring an interesting perspective. The idea of authenticity and allowing others their freedom. Sartre famously said, "Hell is other people," but that line is often misunderstood. He meant that when we base our identity solely on how others see us, we live in a kind of hell, because we're not free. The takeaway for relationships is that you and your loved ones are each free individuals. Trying to dominate or define each other will create a private hell of conflict and resentment. Instead, the most resilient relationships are those where two whole individuals choose to walk together rather than one trying to consume the other. Albert Camus wrote, "Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend." That equality and mutual respect is key. So in practical terms, how can you make your relationships more resilient? Communication. Speak your truth with kindness. Don't bottle up issues until they explode. Tackling small frictions early, albeit uncomfortable, prevents larger breakdowns later. Empathy. Try to see things from the other person's perspective. This aligns with that Stoic idea of understanding others' nature and the Buddhist practice of compassion. When a conflict arises, pause and consider. What might they be feeling? Empathy can diffuse anger and open the door to connection. Quality time. In our busy, tech-saturated world, give your relationships presence. Put down the phone and really listen. Show up for people. The investment you make in good times builds a reserve of goodwill and understanding for tough times. Respect. Independence. Encourage your loved one's goals and interests, even if they differ from yours. Celebrate their successes, and be there when they stumble, without trying to control the narrative of their life. This creates mutual trust, a strong fabric that hardship can't easily tear. Support network. Build a community of positive people. Stoic philosophers often had like-minded friends to discuss and practice virtue with. Similarly, surround yourself with people who encourage your growth and well-being. It's easier to stay strong when those around you also value strength and positivity. Reflect on your key relationships. Is there one where you feel particularly challenged right now? Maybe a person whose behavior hurts you, or someone you love but fear losing. Consider how the principles we've discussed might apply. Could you set a boundary with them, or conversely, open up more? Could you adjust your expectations to be more realistic and compassionate? Perhaps have a gentle but honest conversation you've been avoiding. Remember to also appreciate the good relationships you have. Take a moment to send a message or make a call to someone who matters to you, expressing gratitude or offering support. Strengthening bonds when things are good is part of resilience too. Feel free to share in the comments any insights or commitments you have regarding your relationships. Your story might help someone else. Human connections are often described as the web of life. They can catch us when we fall, or entangle us if we're not careful. By approaching relationships with an unbreakable mindset, you strive to make that web strong and supportive. You become a source of strength for others, and you know how to draw strength from others without losing yourself. People and circumstances will change, but anchored in patience, understanding, and healthy self-regard, your heart can remain open and resilient, come what may. Now let's turn to another important aspect of life: our work, goals, and the sense of purpose we derive from what we do. How can we pursue success and ambition without burning out or losing our principles? How do we remain unbreakable amid the ups and downs of a career and the search for meaning in what we do? Thriving in career and ambition, perseverance and purpose in work. Work is a huge part of life for many of us. It's where we spend countless hours, pour our energies, and often derive a sense of identity or purpose. But careers are also a common source of stress and setbacks. Whether it's losing a job, not getting a promotion, dealing with a difficult boss, or feeling unfulfilled in what you do. To be unbreakable, we need to bring our resilient mindset into our professional lives as well. Stoicism on work teaches us to focus on effort and virtue, not on the outcome or recognition. A Stoic wakes up and says, "I will do my duty. I will put in my best work because that is in my control. Whether I get praise or blame, whether the project succeeds or fails, that part is not entirely up to me." This echoes what we discussed about detachment from outcomes. If you pour your heart into a project at work and it doesn't pan out, or someone else gets the credit, you might naturally feel frustrated. But ultimately, what can you take pride in? The integrity and effort you brought. As Epictetus advises, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it occurs. In a career context, this means commit to excellence and learning, but recognize you won't control every result. Companies may downsize, markets shift, managers may have biases. You do your part, and you adapt to what comes. Handling failure. One of the greatest skills in work and business is turning failures into fuel. Many wildly successful people faced multiple failures, rejected job applications, failed businesses, public mistakes, and those could have broken them mid-panton if they let shame or despair win. Instead, they treated each failure as a lesson. Here, an existentialist attitude helps. Nothing is automatically meaningful, but you can make it meaningful. If you get fired or your startup collapses, that event in itself has no positive meaning. It hurts. But you can create meaning from it by deciding it's the start of a new chapter, an opportunity to reevaluate your path, or a chance to develop resilience. Viktor Frankl wrote that humans have the freedom to find meaning in even the worst circumstances. While a job setback isn't on the same level as Frankl's experiences, the principle still applies. You can say, "This failure will serve as a turning point where I became stronger and wiser." Embracing change and risk. The modern career landscape is ever-changing. People often have multiple careers in a lifetime now. This uncertainty can be scary. The comfort of a stable 40-year career at one firm is largely a thing of the past. But remember the Stoic approach of premeditatio malorum. Expect change, even welcome it as a challenge. If you anticipate that at some point I may need to reinvent myself, then when that time comes, you face it proactively rather than with paralyzing fear. Trust in your adaptability. Think of how many new skills you've learned over your life, from walking and talking as a child to using smartphones or software that didn't exist a decade ago. You are more capable of change than you realize. The key is mindset. See change not as destruction of your old life, but as part of life's flow that you can navigate. Finding purpose in work. Not everyone has a job that aligns perfectly with their passion or values. Sometimes work is a means to an end, feeding your family or saving up to do what you really care about. But no matter what your job is, you can approach it with a sense of purpose by identifying how you do it and why. Stoics believed in working for the common good. Marcus Aurelius saw his role as emperor as serving the people and the cosmos. If you're a teacher, your purpose might be to genuinely educate and inspire, even if the school system is flawed. If you're in a mundane admin job, your purpose can be to bring order and kindness into each interaction, making others' days smoother. Every job, in some way, contributes to society. Try to connect what you do to the benefit it provides, no matter how humble. And if that connection is hard to find, then consider your deeper why. Maybe your job is what allows you to support your loved ones or funds your pursuits outside of work. That can imbue it with dignity. At the same time, don't be afraid to seek change if your career leaves you empty. Buddhism teaches non-attachment, and that can include not clinging to a career that's draining your spirit just because it's what I'm supposed to do. It takes courage to pivot, to go back to school, start a business, or switch fields, especially later in life. But one of the most empowering beliefs is that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. If you approach such a change with mindful planning and acceptance of initial hardships, embracing the discomfort of being a beginner again, for example, it can lead to great fulfillment. Many people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond have successfully changed careers or turned hobbies into livelihoods once they overcame the fear of the unknown. Dealing with workplace stress, high-pressure jobs, tight deadlines, competitive environments, these can grind us down. To remain unbreakable, bring practices into your workday to maintain calm and clarity. A short mindfulness break at lunch can work wonders. Step away from your desk, breathe or take a walk if you can, and recenter. Stoic micro-meditations like reminding yourself one thing at a time or will this matter in 5 years can cut through stress. Also, keep perspective. You are more than your job. Sometimes we stress as if a work fiasco is the end of the world. But zoom out. You've survived 100% of your bad days so far. The sun will rise tomorrow. In habit, try not to bring work stress home. Perhaps have a ritual like changing clothes or exercising after work to signal a mental reset. Balance work with life so that your whole identity doesn't hinge on professional success. That way, if work hits a rough patch, you still have your personal passions, family, or other roles to give you stability and joy. Ambition and ethics. Can one be ambitious and unbreakable? Absolutely, if your ambition is guided by your core values. Existentialists would say you define your essence through your actions. So if climbing the ladder means betraying your principles, you'll create an internal conflict that ultimately weakens you. Unbreakable ambition means you strive for excellence and advancement, but not at the cost of your integrity or relationships. It's a sustainable ambition. You're playing the long game. Cheating or cutting corners might give short-term gains, but it erodes your self-respect. Remember, being able to like the person in the mirror is a huge source of strength. Instead, aim high, work hard, and when ethical dilemmas arise, remember your commitment to virtue. This might mean sometimes turning down opportunities that feel wrong or speaking up against a malpractice at work. That's hard, but it makes you trust yourself and often earns the respect of others in the long run. Seneca wrote letters about navigating political life, advising that one should never do wrong in pursuit of influence, because whatever you gain would be empty if you lose your moral self. Practical resilience at work could also include continuous learning. Treat every day as a school day. Instead of being broken by what you don't know, become curious. Adopt a beginner's mindset. The more skills and knowledge you gather, the more adaptable and valuable you become. If a job ends, your skills go with you to the next. Networking and mentoring. Build genuine relationships in your professional field. Having mentors can guide you through tough decisions. Being a mentor to others can reaffirm your knowledge and purpose. A supportive professional network means if one path closes, others can open through people who respect your work. Financial planning. It may not sound philosophical, but pragmatic steps like saving an emergency fund can make you more mentally resilient at work. When you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you feel less trapped and more able to make clear decisions, like leaving a toxic job if needed. Security is partly an inside job, attitude, and partly an outside one, smart planning. Reflect on your career or main occupation. What's a challenge you're facing there? Perhaps a failure that still stings, or a pressure that's ongoing. See if you can reframe it using these principles. What part of this can you control and improve? What must you accept? Is there a lesson or silver lining? Also, take a moment to recognize something you've achieved in your work that you're proud of. We often rush to the next goal without honoring our successes. In the comments, you might share one work challenge and how you plan to face it differently, or a piece of career advice that has helped you. Your experience could be the insight someone else needs. When you apply an unbreakable mindset to your career, you become, in a sense, anti-fragile, growing stronger with each challenge. Jobs may come and go, successes and failures will ebb and flow, but you remain steady and proactive. You learn, you adjust, and you never lose sight that your worth is not defined by any single resume line or performance review. It's defined by your character and the persistent effort you bring to whatever you do. Now, beyond the day-to-day grind and achievements, let's talk about something even deeper: your purpose. Why do all this? What gives your life meaning at the big picture level? In the final section, we'll explore finding purpose in a chaotic world, tying together everything we've learned as we crown our journey toward becoming unbreakable. Finding purpose in a chaotic world. Your why for being unbreakable. We've covered how to handle hardships, how to cultivate inner strength, and how to approach relationships and work with resilience. But an underlying thread runs through all of it: purpose. Why go through all this effort? What for? Having a sense of purpose, a why, is like having a North Star. It doesn't remove obstacles, but it gives you a reason to keep moving forward no matter what. As Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher who bridged existential ideas, said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Existentialism squarely places the creation of meaning in our own hands. Sartre and Camus lived through times, World War II, the Algerian conflict, that made many question the meaning of life amid so much absurdity and suffering. Their response wasn't to give in to despair, but to assert that meaning is not handed to us by the universe. We give it to our lives by what we do and care about. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus imagines a man condemned to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, and says we must imagine him happy, not because the task is objectively meaningful, but because Sisyphus can choose to find meaning in the very act of defying his fate each time he pushes that rock. That's a powerful metaphor for us. Even when life feels repetitive or absurd, we can infuse it with meaning through our attitude and actions. How do you find your purpose? It can sound like a grand, daunting quest. One might think of a single mission, like cure disease, or save the environment, or raise a family. And for some, purpose is singular and clear. But for many of us, purpose is multifaceted and evolves over time. And that's okay. What's important is that you have a purpose at any given time, something that gets you out of bed beyond just survival or habit. Start by reflecting on your values. What truly matters to you? It might be creativity, or compassion, or knowledge, or faith, or freedom. Once you identify a few core values, ask how you can express them in your life. For example, if compassion and connection are core values, maybe your purpose is tied to helping others. That could manifest as being a nurse, or simply being the person in your friend group who listens and supports everyone. If creativity and beauty drive you, maybe your purpose is to make art that inspires, or to bring creativity into whatever job you have. Remember, no purpose is too small or too ordinary. A janitor who sees his purpose as bringing cleanliness and order so others can live in a healthy environment has a noble purpose. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper. It's not what you do, but why and how you do it that imbues it with greatness. Stoicism often emphasizes purpose in terms of contributing to the common good and living in accordance with nature, meaning our rational, social nature. Marcus Aurelius felt his purpose was to be a good ruler and human being, to do what is in accord with the nature of a rational and social animal. In simpler terms, to use his talents and position to benefit others and uphold virtue. You might not be an emperor, but you have roles. Maybe you're a parent, so part of your purpose is raising your children with love and wisdom. Maybe you're an activist at heart, so your purpose is to work towards justice. If you're not sure of a grand purpose, start small. Decide that today your purpose is to bring a bit more kindness into the world, or to learn something new. Purpose can be practiced in the micro before it's clear in the macro. Buddhism offers another angle. It speaks of Dharma, which in part means the path of truth and the teachings that lead to liberation. For someone on a Buddhist path, ultimate purpose might be enlightenment, the complete freeing of oneself and helping others get free from suffering. But even if enlightenment isn't your concept, we can draw from this the idea of growth and service. Perhaps part of our purpose is to keep growing in understanding and to help alleviate suffering where we can. The Dalai Lama often says, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. That's a beautifully simple guidepost for purpose. The evolving journey, purpose is not fixed. An athlete who defined their life by sport might find a new purpose in coaching once they retire from competition. A professional might find their purpose shifts after a meaningful volunteer experience, leading them to change careers. Be open to your purpose changing as you grow. That's not being fickle, that's being alive. In fact, periodically revisiting the question, what gives me a sense of meaning now, is healthy. Journaling on that question can yield insights. You may identify multiple sources of meaning. For instance, being a good friend brings me meaning, creativity brings me meaning, and learning about the world brings me meaning. All those together weave into your purpose. Dark times and purpose. There may be phases in life when purpose feels obscured, perhaps after a huge loss or during depression. In those times, it's important to remember that purpose doesn't have to be a feeling of constant inspiration. Sometimes purpose is a quiet guiding light. When Camus wrote about finding an invincible summer within, it's akin to finding a spark of meaning, even in winter. If you are in a dark place, start with very basic purpose. My purpose today is to take care of myself and stay alive. That is absolutely valid and important. Then gradually, as the fog lifts, you can expand that purpose outward again. Many people emerge from dark times with a refined sense of purpose, like those who survive illness and then dedicate themselves to helping others through similar illnesses. Your pain can carve out deeper meaning, like a tree that after weathering a storm sinks its roots even deeper. Living your purpose daily. To really feel the power of purpose, integrate it into your daily life. If your purpose is, say, to spread knowledge, ask each morning, how can I do that today? It could be as grand as writing a chapter in your book, or as simple as sharing a useful article with a colleague. Purpose is not fulfilled only by big achievements, it's lived in everyday acts. By doing something every day that connects to your why, you reinforce that meaning for yourself. It becomes a source of continuity, a thread that runs through the changing tapestry of your experiences, giving them coherence. When you have purpose, adversity becomes more bearable. Failures and obstacles are easier to endure because you see them as part of a larger story, not just pointless pain. If you feel, I'm working towards something that matters to me, a setback is just a plot twist, not the end. Choices become clearer. You can ask, does this align with my purpose? It helps in saying no to distractions or temptations that stray you from what's meaningful. Motivation is more intrinsic. You're fueled from within, by passion or commitment, rather than only by external rewards. This inner fire is much harder to extinguish. You inspire others. There's something magnetic about someone living with purpose. It encourages others to find their own and creates a positive ripple effect. Take a moment to ponder. What feels deeply meaningful to you at this point in your life? It could be an overarching mission or a few key things. If it's unclear, think about times you felt really fulfilled. What were you doing? Who were you helping? Or what were you creating? Jot down whatever comes to mind without judging it. That's your inner compass trying to speak. In the comments, if you're comfortable, share one aspect of your purpose or something that gives your life meaning. Declaring it can be powerful, and you might resonate with others who have similar whys. Ultimately, purpose is personal. It doesn't have to impress anyone else. It just has to be authentic to you. When you latch onto it, it becomes a wellspring of resilience. You realize you're not just drifting aimlessly at the mercy of events. You're sailing towards something. The winds can blow and storms can hit. They might change your course a bit or delay you, but they won't sink you, because you'll always find your way back to that North Star. We've now assembled a complete toolkit and mindset for becoming unbreakable. Embracing challenges, letting go of what we can't control, owning our lives, caring for ourselves and others, striving in our endeavors, and living with purpose. With these, you are ready to face 2025 and beyond with a spirit that can weather any storm. Now let's wrap up with a final message of encouragement and a heartfelt thank you for being part of this journey. Conclusion. Becoming unbreakable. We've traveled a long road together, from understanding the chaos of our modern world, to learning from Stoic emperors and Buddhist monks, to standing tall in our own freedom and responsibility. Along the way, we've gathered tools, embracing discomfort instead of fleeing it, letting go of attachments that weighed us down, taking charge of our lives, cultivating steady habits, and treating ourselves with love. These aren't just isolated tips. They weave together into a philosophy of life, a way of approaching every day so that whatever happens, you remain rooted, resilient, and yes, unbreakable. What does it mean to be unbreakable? It doesn't mean you'll never feel pain or doubt. You will, because you're alive and human. Being unbreakable means that no pain or doubt will stop you from living fully and meaningfully. It means every time life knocks you down, you know you have the strength to rise again. It means you don't shatter when pressure mounts. You bend, you adapt, and you bounce back stronger. It means that deep in your core, you carry an invincible summer that no winter can snuff out. Picture your future self, maybe a year from now, applying what we've discussed. You wake up with purpose, maybe a bit earlier than you used to, because you look forward to building your day. You greet challenges at work or in life with a calmer mind. When a problem arises, you hear Marcus Aurelius's voice reminding you that the obstacle is the way forward. Instead of panicking or complaining, you think, all right, how can I turn this into an opportunity or a lesson? When you feel the sting of disappointment, perhaps a project fails or someone lets you down, you recall the Buddhist wisdom. This feeling is impermanent. Don't cling to the way it should have been. You breathe, accept, and find peace in moving on. When you stand at a crossroads or face a tough decision, you channel your inner Sartre or Frankl, owning your freedom to choose. You don't wait for someone else to decide. You take responsibility and create your path, knowing it's on you to make life meaningful. You also maintain the practices that keep you strong, maybe hitting the gym or the yoga mat, not just for vanity, but because it trains your will and clears your mind. Maybe you keep a journal where each night you jot a few lines about what you're grateful for and what you learned that day, reinforcing positivity and growth. And crucially, when you look in the mirror, you see a friend, not an enemy. You treat that person kindly, urging them on with encouragement, forgiving their missteps, and pushing them to be their best because they deserve the best. This is not fantasy. This is a very real possibility for you. All these shifts are within your reach. In fact, they're already happening as you've engaged with these ideas. The seed has been planted. With practice and persistence, it will grow. Remember, change doesn't usually happen in one dramatic moment. It's in the small choices you make every day. Every time you choose to face something rather than avoid it, you're becoming unbreakable. Every time you release an expectation and accept what is, you're becoming unbreakable. Every time you take ownership instead of blaming, build a healthy habit, or speak to yourself with compassion, you are fortifying that unbreakable core. Life will continue to have ups and downs. The world around us will continue to be unpredictable, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh. But armed with the wisdom of Stoicism, Buddhism, and existentialism, and the practical steps we've explored, you have an inner toolkit for anything. Think of these philosophies as lifelong companions. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, Buddha, Sartre, Camus. They've left you maps. But you are the one who gets to live it out, to draw your own map as you go, combining the old wisdom with your unique journey. As we close this guide, take a moment to feel proud. You've invested in yourself by listening, reflecting, and committing to growth. That itself is a sign of strength. Many people shy away from introspection or change, but here you are, proactively seeking to better yourself and your life. That's huge. Recognize that spark in you, that drive to become stronger, wiser, more loving. That's your inner flame. Protect it and nurture it, and it will light your way no matter how dark it gets around you. I want to personally thank you for coming along on this journey. Your time and attention are valuable, and I'm honored that you spent them here, learning and growing. Remember that you are not alone on this path. There's a whole community of us, people striving to be resilient, sharing our experiences, and lifting each other up. I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this guide resonated most with you? Do you have any personal experiences or insights about becoming unbreakable that others might benefit from? Let's keep the conversation going and learn from each other. If you found value in this guide, consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you join a circle of ongoing learning and motivation. You'll get more content aimed at helping you grow and stay strong in the face of life's challenges. Also, if this video spoke to you, give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find this message. And perhaps there's someone out there who really needs to hear these words today. Ultimately, becoming unbreakable is a journey, one that lasts a lifetime. But with every step on this journey, you will feel a bit more confident, a bit more at peace, and a lot more alive. Life will keep testing you, but now you can smile at those tests, because you know each one is an opportunity to show what you're made of and to deepen your wisdom. Keep going, keep growing. Embrace the challenges, savor the joys, learn from everything. Trust in your resilience. You have everything you need within you to thrive. In the words of the Stoics, fortune can and will try you, but you hold the power to meet it with courage and virtue. In the words of the Buddha, peace comes from within, do not seek it without. And in the spirit of the existentialists, meaning is not given to you, it is created by you every single day. Thank you once again for listening. Here's to your journey toward an unbreakable life. Stay strong, stay compassionate, and never stop believing in the power and potential that lies within you. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and join us for more adventures in personal growth. And leave a comment. Let us know where you are on your journey and what becoming unbreakable means to you. We're all in this together, learning and becoming better, day by day. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep shining. Your invincible summer is glowing within. Carry it proudly. Thank you for watching.